welcome to VC Bird International Airport in Antigua for today's flight. Today we are heading over to Barbuda, which is the other island on this island nation. Let's go rotating beacon on. Mixtures to idle, props full forward, master switch on. Let's go fuel pumps on, fuel valves open, mags on, prime the engines. Somebody who watched one of my earlier videos requested this flight, and we are here to service our customers at Anguilla Air Services. So glad to do this flight. And let's crack the throttle. Alright, open the starter hood, hit the starter for the starboard engine. Engine kicks over, bring in the mixture, check the oil pressure. Oil pressure is good. Hit the port starter, engine turns over. Bring in the mixture, check the oil pressure. Oil pressure is good. Turn off the fuel pumps. Fuel pressures are good. Avionics master switch on. Lean the mixture. Well, first before we lean the mixtures, let's pull the throttles back here a little bit. Lean the mixtures for taxi. Let's turn our nav and strobe lights on. Turn our taxi light on in a second when we're ready for taxi. So 122.8 is the TAPH. 118.15 is San Juan Center in case they come online during the flight. And you may ask, what is TAPH? TAPH stands for, first of all, let's turn our taxi light on. Engage the brakes. Release the parking brake. Clear on the right to taxi. Or clear on the left rather than taxi. TAPH stands for Common Traffic Advisory Frequency. And what a TAPH is when there's no controller, when it's an uncontrolled field, there's no tower to manage the traffic, which of course there is at this airport in real life. But if there isn't, what a TAPH does is it gives you radio frequency to talk to other pilots, and you do what they call self-announce, and you just tell everybody else where you are, so other pilots approaching that field know where you are, you know where they are, and you can kind of manage the traffic flow yourselves. And that's very common at smaller airports. Usually a TAPH will cover multiple airports, which may sound weird. I suppose in some ways it is kind of weird. But the reason actually why, when you hear me broadcast, like here I'll say VC Bird traffic, Anguilla 264 lining up runway 10 VC Bird. And the reason why you repeat the airport at the end of your radio broadcast is in case somebody else switched onto your frequency halfway through your transmission. They might hear most of what you said, but they didn't hear what airport you're at. And so you repeat the airport so that they know if they only catch half your transmission. So there was an airport or an airplane on the runway. I don't know what he did, but alright, let's go fuel pumps on. Mixture is rich. Landing light on. So let's do this. VC Bird traffic, Anguilla 264, taking runway 07 for departure to the north, VC Bird. So I don't see anybody on final. We'll see once we get out here onto the runway if we're clear in that direction. And we are. Alright. Runway 07, that checks with the heading indicator. And we are lined up and ready to go. Mixtures and props full forward, fuel pumps are on. Put that down. Alright, takeoff power coming in. Put the flaps down, yeah. Takeoff power is set, flaps are set, engine instruments all in green, airspeed is alive. And off we go. So here we have VC Bird International Airport. And this is a pay-where airport. They've done a really good job. You know, in this power back here. It's a very popular destination. Props back here. We got a left turn out because there's a little island right off the end of the runway here that they don't want you flying over and annoying the vacationers, which is perfectly reasonable. Here's the little island. So 2,500 or 25 inches of manifold pressure, 2,500 on the props. So this is the beautiful island of Antigua. I've never been here. I would like to go here someday. So 1,000 feet AGL. Let's turn the fuel pumps off. Fuel pressures are good. And we're off. So this is kind of, I think, the second, you know, kind of big hub in the Eastern Caribbean behind St. Martin. As I believe Antigua, there's a lot of flights from Europe. A lot of inter-island traffic from Antigua and to Antigua. We're climbing like a homesick angel today. 2,900 feet, 100 to go. Start pushing the nose over and pull the power back a little bit. Bring the props back. Trim here. I don't believe you, airplane, that you're going to go down. I think you're going to continue to climb like you always do. There's 23 inches. Yeah, see? Let's see. There we go. Alright. Not gonna be much of a tour guide on this lake because I don't know a whole lot about Antigua or Barbuda. I know the airport at Barbuda got damaged in the hurricane a couple of years ago, and I believe it's not in operation right now. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe by now it is. So like I said, somebody who watched one of my other videos asked if I could do a flight from Antigua to Barbuda. I'm glad to oblige. I actually wanted to do this flight anyway. But I mean, geez, if somebody's, you know, nice enough to spend their time watching my pokey little YouTube channel and has a request, that's something I'm glad to do. So, the one thing I do know is that the airport here, somebody did a freeware version of the airport. And so I installed that. So this is going to be a custom scenery, custom little airport, which is pretty cool. On the website flightsim.to Tango Oscar, rather than flightsim.com, it's flightsim.to. There are a bunch, I mean a ton of Caribbean airfields, and really I think pretty much all of them, from Trinidad and Tobago all the way up through St. Martin and Anguilla, Beef Island, King on St. John, Culebra in Puerto Rico, Vieques, the Puerto Rico mainland airports, there's airports in the Dominican, there's airports in Cuba. I don't know if there's airports in Cuba. There are in Jamaica, there are in the Caymans. I mean, the Caribbean, you know, between probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 payware airports. And, you know, a couple that came with the sim, like St. Bart's, Saba, St. Martin, Juliana is payware. That includes Grand Casse on the French side. King on St. Thomas is, I think, payware. Antigua is payware. I bought that. I think Piarco on Trinidad is payware. I think Grenada is payware. I might be wrong with that one. That one might be freeware. Then all the little islands that dot up through the St. Vincent, the Grenadines. Gosh, all 6 airports on Guadeloupe. And then St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Eustatius, Statia that I flew to yesterday. And all these airports are covered, like either with payware or freeware. And like with all the water masking that's done now, I mean, geez. We are, you know, I mean, we're living large in the Caribbean. And the Caribbean used to be just basically a forgotten area. Codrington traffic angle at 26410 miles to the south, inbound full stop Codrington. Make our first radio call at 10 nautical miles in the field. When you have a GPS, it makes it very easy to do because you just look at that. When that says 10, that's when you make your first radio call. If you don't have that, then you just kind of make it up. Fairly reasonable time to start our descent. Bring the power back to 21 inches. Bring the props back to 2100. And what this should do is give us about a 500 foot per minute descent with the same airspeed that we just had. Nose will drop a little bit more to begin with, but then you can see that vertical speed creeping back up. Because what happens is, when the nose drops, the airspeed increases, but the airplane is trimmed for 130 knots. You trim for airspeed, not for vertical speed. And so when you trim for 130 knots and you reduce power, the nose will pitch down, but it's only going to pitch down as much as it needs to maintain 130 knots. You've taken some of that energy away by reducing the power. And there you have it, right about 500 feet per minute and 130 knots. How about that? It's pretty cool how that works. So, this is the island of Barbuda. I think there's a private strip down at that end. I think it might belong to a resort of some kind. Codrington traffic angle at 264 is on a 5-mile right base, runway 10 Codrington. That's kind of a lie. So, the power back again to 1800. Start pulling the nose up a little bit. Just start bleeding off some of the airspeed. And these are the things that some people wig out about, like these lines, like, oh, it doesn't look good, whatever. I mean, you know, with all the airports I just rattled off that I get to go fly to nowadays, I don't, you know, I'm not going to complain about, you know, a little visual glitch here and there. I'm really not. Alright, so let's turn the fuel pumps on. Mixtures are rich. Alright, and the field is right over here. Bring the power back to 1500. Keep the nose up. That should get us right back into flap operating range. And it does, so we'll put in that first notch of flaps. And what I want to do now is pitch for 70 knots. And it should be, 70 knots should be right about here. And there's the field right there about our 2 o'clock. And make our turn here. And Codrington, traffic, Anguilla 264, 2-mile final, runway 10 Codrington. And as I always say, it's better to make a lazy turn in to final and be too early and kind of have to drift over a little bit, rather than waiting too long and having to make a sharp turn at low altitude to try to get lined up. So see, even here I've overshot it a little bit. Of course, maybe that turn was just too lazy, but alright, so 1,500 feet. Get ourselves back over here on center line. Beautiful water out here. Alright, so we're going to put that second notch of flaps in. Keep that nose down. Power up to about 1,800. Alright, fuel pumps are on, mixtures are rich. And we are in good shape right here. Codrington traffic, Anguilla 264, short final, runway 10 Codrington. And we're going so slow, and we're going 60 knots. I mean, it looks like we're standing still, doesn't it? So that being the case, 500 feet per minute is more than enough descent. Because obviously the slower you're going, the less a rate of descent you really need. So let's put the props full forward. A little bit less power here. Okay, this is in pretty good shape. Get a touch more power. Out. Nose up. And really, I mean, that's the secret to good landings. Let's put the flaps up. Clean the mixtures. The secret to good landings is low airspeed, because really the slower you're going, the less energy you have to manage. And managing energy is the tough part. I mean, that's really what landing is managing energy. It's really what flying is in a lot of ways. And I was quite pleased with that. Let's move right over here. We'll go see this gentleman. check out the airport here. Alright, apply the brakes, mixtures to idle cutoff. I'm going to leave everything else on because if you turn the stuff off, then Microsoft shuts down the sim. So there you go. You got your little airport buildings. Pretty modest little airport, but really cool. Nice flight. A lot of fun. And if you're not flying in the Caribbean in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you are missing out. So let's see. Lights off. Magneto's off. Avionics and master switch off, and that's that.